My name is Khalil. I was born in a small neighborhood, full of noise, full of life. The streets were narrow, the houses were close, and we all knew each other. My father worked in construction, strong hands, tired face, quiet man. My mother baked bread at home every day, with love, with flour, with fire. We were not rich, not even close, but we had each other, and that was enough. At 10 years old, I helped my mom. I kneaded dough. I cleaned the floor. I also read books, old books from my brother, who stopped school to work. He gave up his dream so maybe I could keep mine. One day, a man in our street got very sick. No doctor, no hospital, just a man with herbs. They called him a healer, but he was not. He gave tea for everything. The man died. It was sad. It was wrong. It was avoidable. I stood near his house. I looked at my mother, and I said something big. I will be a doctor. I don't want people to die like this again. She laughed, not because it was funny, but because it sounded impossible. She asked me, "What do you know about medicine?" I smiled and said, "I know it's expensive, but maybe my brain is worth something." From that day, my dream started. Not easy, not fast, but strong. I had no books of my own, no desk, no lamp, only hope and a small candle. My shoes were broken, my bag was old, and my lunch was just dry bread. But I walked to school every day, even in the rain, even when I was hungry. Kids laughed at me sometimes because I looked poor and I stayed quiet. I didn't fight, I didn't cry, I just came home and studied harder. My mother waited with a smile, even when she was tired, even when there was no money. I sat on the floor, with books in my lap and dreams in my mind. At night, I closed my eyes. I imagined myself in a white coat helping people. I didn't want to be rich. I wanted to be useful. I wanted to save lives. In high school, I worked harder. I studied until my head hurt, and I slept very little. I sometimes collected plastic bottles to sell for small coins to buy paper and pens. Then came the big test, the one for the medical school, the one that scared me. I entered the building. Students around me had cars, nice shoes, expensive bags. I had nothing, only a pen, some water, and a promise I made to myself. I whispered before I sat down, "No one will ever check my heart until I become the one who checks theirs." That was the start, the real start, of everything that came next. My score was high, high enough to get in, and my heart felt like flying. My mother cried when she heard. My father just looked away, hiding his proud tears. We had no party, no gifts, but that day felt like the biggest win of our lives. But medical school was not easy. It was a new world, full of pressure, full of pain. Books were too expensive, food was too little, and time was never enough. I borrowed old books, I skipped meals, I worked during the holidays. I cleaned floors, served coffee, carried boxes, and studied in between. Some nights I slept in the library, cold chair, warm heart, and big dreams. I missed home. I missed my mother's bread. I missed being a boy. But I was not a boy anymore. I was someone chasing something bigger. Not for money, not for fame, just to prove it can be done. First year was the hardest. New place, new people, new rules, and heavy books. I felt small. I felt lost. But I kept walking, step by step, day by day. Others had laptops. I had paper. Others had rich parents. I had big dreams. They went to cafes. I went to the library. They slept early. I studied late. I ate bread with salt. I drank tea without sugar, and I smiled anyway. Some nights I cried, not loud, just small tears, quiet and alone. I missed my mother, her voice, her food, her warm hugs after school. But I told myself always, this pain is part of the price, part of the climb. During breaks, I worked in restaurants, cleaning dishes, wiping tables, standing long hours. No one knew I was a medical student. I didn't wear it on my shirt. Some customers shouted, some treated me badly, some didn't look at my face. But I stayed polite, I stayed calm, and I saved every coin I made. My hands were rough, my back hurt, my eyes red from no sleep. But I used that money to buy old shoes, second-hand books, and bus tickets. My teachers noticed me, not for my clothes, but for my questions and focus. One of them said, "You're poor, but you think rich," and I never forgot that. In the second year, things got a little easier. I understood more, feared less. I joined study groups. I found kind friends. We helped each other through. We shared notes, shared food, shared long nights before exams. They didn't care that I was poor. They saw I was serious. They respected that. One winter, I got sick, very sick, but I couldn't afford to miss class. I wrapped myself in old sweaters, drank hot water, and walked to college. My mother begged me to rest, but I told her if I stopped now, I might never finish. She cried quietly, but let me go, because she knew how much it meant. In year 3, we started real training, hospital rounds, real patients, real stories. I stood beside dying people. I held hands of strangers. I watched lives end. I saw people cry, scream, pray, and smile, sometimes all in one day. It was painful. It was powerful. It made me stronger, made me softer. One man told me, "I'm scared to die, but your calm face helps me." That night, I cried again. Not because I was weak, but because I was human. I learned that being a doctor isn't just about medicine. It's about listening, too. It's about standing still when everything around is falling apart. My grades were good, not perfect, but honest. Earned with effort, not money. In the 4th year, I taught younger students. They looked at me with respect. One of them said, "How do you stay so focused?" And I just smiled. I said, "Because every day I remember where I started." Back in my neighborhood, people started calling me Dr. Khalil even before I graduated. I didn't correct them. I just nodded, because it reminded me to keep going. I visited my mother when I could, brought medicine, brought hope, brought stories. She always made tea even if she had no sugar and told the neighbors proudly. During final exams, I got very tired, mentally and physically. But I didn't stop. Some nights I wanted to give up, close my books, walk away, sleep forever. But then I remembered the old man who died without help, and I sat back down. I remembered the promise I made as a child, and I opened my notes again. The day I passed my last exam, I didn't scream. I didn't jump. I just breathed. I walked outside the college, looked at the sky, and whispered, "Thank you." I didn't tell many people. I just called my mother and said, "It's done." She cried so much I could hear her tears, even through the phone. I didn't go to a big party. I didn't buy new clothes. I just sat in silence. I looked at my old shoes, my tired hands, my small room, and felt full. Full of pain, full of peace, full of everything I had fought for. I had no money, no job yet, but I had a new name, Dr. Khalil. After graduation, I didn't rest, didn't travel, didn't take a break, just stayed focused. Others looked for jobs abroad, big hospitals, shiny buildings, high salaries. I packed a small bag, wore my old jacket, and went back to my neighborhood. The streets were still narrow, the houses still broken, the pain still real. People looked at me with hope, not with questions. They saw I had returned. Mothers came to me crying with sick babies, with old fears, with silent prayers. Fathers came with tired backs, dry hands, and stories they never shared before. Children stared at me like I was a hero, like I carried magic in my bag. I opened a small clinic, one chair, one table, one window, and my old stethoscope. I called it the People's Clinic. Not mine, not fancy, just simple, just honest. I charged nothing for the poor, just smiles, just prayers, just trust in return. Some helped me paint the walls, others cleaned, some brought water, some brought food. Every day, people waited outside from sunrise to sunset, even in the rain. I saw wounds, fevers, broken bones, broken hearts, broken dreams, and silent pain. I listened more than I spoke. I gave time, gave care, gave people back their dignity. They didn't just need pills. They needed to feel seen, to feel safe, to feel human. One morning, a woman came with her son, crying, scared, thinking he was dying. He had a high fever, he was shaking, and they had no money for medicine. I held his hand, cooled his forehead, gave him what I had, and stayed beside him. That night, he slept peacefully, and she kissed my hand with tears in her eyes. "I prayed for a doctor who listens," she said, "not one who only looks busy." Her words stayed in my heart, deeper than books, deeper than any lesson. Many times I stayed late, skipped meals, forgot sleep, just to help one more. Not because I was strong, but because I knew how it felt to be forgotten. Some old friends from college visited, surprised, asking, "Why here? Why not more?" I smiled and said, "This is more, this is everything. This is home." They shook their heads, called me strange, but I didn't feel strange. I felt right. I didn't need applause, didn't need titles. I needed to be useful, to be present. Slowly, People started trusting me more. They brought others, shared my story. A woman brought her father from another city just to be treated by me. Another came just to say thank you, not for a cure, but for kindness. That was my reward, not money, but meaning, not fame, but faith. A journalist came once, asked for an interview, wanted to write about my life. I said yes, but only if he also wrote about the people, not just me. He agreed, he came, he saw the clinic, the faces, the love, the truth. He cried during the visit and said, "This is the kind of story people need." The article was shared everywhere, online, in papers, even on the news. People started donating medicine, clothes, money, even a new chair for my patients. I didn't ask for it, but they gave, because they believed, because they cared. And I used every donation with care, with thanks, with responsibility. One day, a man arrived in a suit, rich, clean, cold eyes, soft hands. He offered me a job in a private hospital, big salary, new car, nice house. He said, "You don't belong in this dusty place. Come and live better." I looked at him, smiled, and replied, "But I already live well here." He didn't understand. He left confused, shaking his head, thinking I was crazy. But I wasn't crazy. I was calm. I was clear. I was doing what mattered most. I didn't want to run away from pain. I wanted to stay and help heal it. Because healing is not just a job, it's a promise, a purpose, a path. Sometimes I sat outside my clinic at night, looking at the moon, thinking quietly. I thought of the boy I used to be, the bread, the books, the candles. I thought of my mother's hands, the heavy bags, the quiet strength, the prayers. And I thanked life for the pain, for the fight, for the story I was living. Years passed quickly. The clinic grew slowly, but the heart stayed the same. I didn't add gold signs, didn't buy new clothes, didn't change who I was. People still waited on wooden benches, still brought food, still prayed for me. My days were long, but my soul was light, because love made it easier. One winter, a boy came in shaking, coughing, skin pale, lips dry, eyes tired. He had no jacket, no shoes, no food, only a note in his pocket. "Please help him," it said. "I have no money, but I trust you, Dr. Khalil." I read it slowly, held the boy close, and said softly, "You're safe now." I gave him medicine, warm soup, and an old blanket I kept just in case. He smiled a little, whispered, "Thank you," and fell asleep on the bench. I sat beside him just watching, listening to his breathing like a lullaby. He reminded me, of cold nights, of hunger, of not giving up. In the morning, his mother came running, crying, thinking he had died. When she saw him alive, warm, fed, she dropped to her knees and wept. "You gave me back my son," she said, holding my hands, shaking with relief. I couldn't speak, only nodded and felt my chest grow heavy with purpose. Each story was different, but the feeling was always the same, deep and full. I treated a girl who couldn't walk, helped her take steps after months, Her father returned every week just to thank me over and over again. He brought me tea, fruit, old books, anything he could out of love. I met children with burns, cuts, sadness in their hearts too heavy to carry. Some lost parents, others lost homes. All found peace in my small clinic. It was more than a building. It was a home, a place where fear ended, where they were seen, held, healed, and told, "You matter." A woman came with her baby one evening, shaking with fever and fear. She thought the baby wouldn't make it, had no money, no options, no hope. I worked all night, didn't sleep, and by morning, the fever was gone. She kissed my hand, said nothing, just cried and hugged her child tight. Old people came too, with tired bones, silent tears, and stories long forgotten. They didn't want pills, just someone to listen, to nod, to say, "I hear you." So I did. Every day, every patient, every story I carried in my heart. I didn't forget, didn't judge, didn't rush, just stayed with them. My mother visited often, brought food, smiled at my patients like old friends. She said, "You made a place where pain becomes peace. I'm proud of you." Her words filled me more than any award, any title, any paycheck ever could. She didn't need a clinic. She needed to see her son happy and whole. Then one day a young man came and said, "You saved my life years ago." He was the same boy with no jacket, no shoes, now grown and strong. "I became a nurse because of you," he said, holding my old stethoscope. "Now I want to help you here, to give back what you gave me." Tears came easily, not from sadness, but from a full circle made of love. He started working with me side by side, shoulder to shoulder, heart to heart. We laughed, we cried, we worked harder, and the clinic became even brighter. He called me teacher, but I called him Hope, because that's what he was. Donations grew, people believed. The walls were painted new, beds upgraded. We got a small van, turned it into a mobile clinic, drove to deeper pain, to far places, forgotten roads, villages where doctors never went before. We brought medicine, hugs, songs, and most of all, we brought light. One night, we sat outside under the stars eating simple food, smiling. He asked, "Do you ever regret staying here? Not choosing the easy path?" I looked at the sky, then at him and said, "I didn't stay, I rose." Because sometimes rising means staying, building, loving where it hurts most. The clinic kept growing slowly. More people came every day. Hope spread quietly. I never forgot where I started. The cold nights, the hunger, the empty pockets. I stayed close to my roots, helping those who had no one else to turn to. Because true success is not money, it is love and care given without limits. One morning, a man arrived, walking slowly, holding a small bag, eyes tired. He said, "Dr. Khalil, you helped me once, now I want to give back too." He was the boy from years ago, no jacket, no shoes, now grown and strong. He asked to join me, to work together, to help the clinic reach more people. We became a team, working long hours, laughing, learning, sharing every step. The clinic got brighter, walls painted new, beds fixed, medicines never running out. We bought a small van, turned it into a moving clinic to reach faraway villages, where doctors never came before, where people waited in silence for hope. We drove on dusty roads, through rain and heat, singing songs, bringing light. We gave medicine, bandages, warm words, and most of all, we gave respect. People smiled more, children played again, mothers thanked us with tears. The village elders said, "You brought more than help. You brought life itself." Sometimes at night, I sat outside looking up at stars, thinking about the journey, the boy I once was, the dreams I had, the pain I felt, the hope I found. I told my friend, I never stayed because it was easy. I stayed because it was right. Rising is not only moving up, sometimes rising means staying and fighting. Our story is not just about medicine or money, it's about never giving up, about loving deeply even when the world feels cold and unfair to us all. It's about the small moments, the smiles, the hands held tight in the dark, because those moments are what make life beautiful, meaningful, and full. I learned that no matter how hard life gets, the heart can always find a way to heal, to love, to build, to rise, even from the smallest seed of hope. And I keep telling everyone who comes to my clinic, you are not alone. Because in this small place we carry each other, one story, one heart at a time.